Hello, beloved twin flames. It's Steph Parasha here, Divine Light, and I'm back here with you after a wee break for a few weeks, bringing you a video update of the energies that I feel are going on and talking about things that have been going on for me in my twin flame journey. Definitely since Easter, the energies, I know we always say the energies have been intense, and it's almost like every time we have a little update, the energies have been intense. But the energies have been really, 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 really intense. And that's why it's taken me kind of a wee while to get back to you all, because the last few weeks I have been like really, really down and just going through a lot of my own deep triggers and wounds and anxiety and intensity. And as we know, us sensitive beings, being a twin flame means that you are pretty highly likely to be incredibly spiritually sensitive, energetically sensitive, most likely empathic, and so all of these things that go on in our energy field are very, very intense for us. And we had some of the bigger things like Notre Dame burning. Recently, I mean, this is a couple of months ago, but not so long ago in New Zealand, we had the mass murders, and there's some really big stuff going on. And in my own relationship, I'm a single mum with a daughter, and we have quite an intense relationship because we're very close, but things became really difficult between us the last month. And she's a growing young woman and hormonal, and anyway, I'm a mum trying to navigate my way through. And so we found ourselves in a quite a few arguments and intensities, and I could feel my anger just really, really intense. And it wasn't a very nice energy to be in, the anger, and kind of feeling a bit stuck and a bit depressed in my situation, and going through some of those old tapes and stories about various negative ways of thinking that just aren't helpful, like I'm stuck, poor me, I've got to do this job, I haven't got enough money, blah blah blah, just I'm unsupported, my old tapes just running and sort of making me feel really low. And so it has taken quite a lot to come out of that, and to be aware that when we're going through these, I realized, it was an ascension wave. I realized finally, I was like, oh my God, have I still not learned how to remind myself and remember that when the energies are really intense like this, that we're going through a big shift, there's something going on within us that's trying to release, that if we just go with the energy and flow with it as if we're riding, a tsunami wave. And I often talk about these experiences in my videos from time to time, and actually just surrender into the energies that are trying to come through and help us evolve and shift anything that's kind of blocking us, or that we're resistant to, or that's based in fear, that's trying to actually be released and removed from our life. And it doesn't happen easily, as we know. It's not just click the fingers or zap it away. We often have to travel through the fears and actually really go deep on them and experience what it is that we're needing to learn, where we may have been giving our power away, or where we're feeling trapped or lost, or basically for me it was a lot around where I was giving my power away, where I wasn't prepared to step in, where I was trying to avoid having to deal with something. And that's a very one of my protection mechanisms, and really ways that I try and deal with things is I'm a flight. So I'll disappear, I'll run away, I'll avoid. That's I disassociate, I go out of the situation to try and avoid dealing with whatever may be difficult or painful. So for me, it's having to be really in it, and really experiencing stepping into my power, or facing my fears, and facing challenges, facing conflicts, going out of my comfort zone. That's what's kind of the energies have been about for me, stepping in and stepping up. Possibly for the same for you. I know at one point I thought, God, I remember I had one really intense day, and it was like the 28th of April. I think it was last Saturday or Sunday, about a week ago. And I suddenly got a message in my mind, oh, I need to look up Schumann resonance. So I looked it up, and I could see that there was a massive spike. And, if you don't know already what about the Schumann resonance, it's kind of like the measuring of the Earth's frequencies and the electromagnetics. And when it spikes, it's obviously plays with our energetics as well. So that was the day that I had a very kind of angry confrontation with my daughter. And I thought, wow, that explains why everything was so intense that day, and even to the point where I was still getting those sort of shakes, tremors in my body as well, where I was just feeling really anxious and on edge, and my body was kind of trembling, which I've been getting quite a lot, and I see that as kind of an ascension symptom. So that's all been going on. I wonder how you've all been getting on out there. I wonder if you've been having some intense times of, really, what a lot of it again is just another round of clearing for a lot of people. I've just been with a friend this afternoon, and I said, sorry, I've only got like an hour to sit with you and have a cup of tea. And then we just sat down, and all this information started coming in about her, and a learning that she was needing to experience. And just in that moment, I mean, I feel really grateful that she can trust me enough that she knows that something's coming, and she could feel it. And I said, we've got to deal with this, it's coming in. Spirits are really speaking to me and giving me clear messages about this issue. And for her it was about attachment, and attachment to connected to a relationship, and the stories that she had, or beliefs that she had started telling herself around love and relationships, and the parts of it that had kind of got confused and layered over each other, where she'd sort of tried to avoid and get into these ways of thinking. But the key theme was she needed to let go and release attachment to a certain relationship that she had experienced a lot of loss in, and where she was still kind of holding on in some way to that situation or to that person. And and it was all very well to say, you've got to let go, but she's like, how do I do it? And so we kind of went through that. And I know a lot of people do ask, how do I let go? How do I let go when it's so strong? And sometimes we've got to be understanding with ourselves to know that sometimes we're not quite ready to let go because there's something else we haven't processed in relation to that situation. And for a lot of people, it might be that they haven't released fully, or been allowed to grieve some kind of situation of the pain of what they experienced, or been allowed to fully experience the pain. And you might say, yes, I feel like I've experienced that pain enough, and I don't really want to deal with it anymore. And there's a part of you that wants to avoid it, but there's also a part of you that still hasn't really expressed fully that time and what it meant, or the anger that you've got about why it didn't turn out the way it did. That's another form of grief, anger, the loss, really fully being allowed to grieve a loss of something. So, sometimes that's why it's difficult to let go, because there hasn't been the full process of the emotion attached to the experience, if you know what I mean. So I'm hoping that you can apply these principles or these theories of healing and releasing to your situation, because sometimes we really have to break it down. All these spiritual concepts that people talk about are very easy to kind of fly around and say, let go, or be unconditional in your love. And it's like, yeah, but how do we do it? So I like to kind of get down into examples and helpful ways that help people to really let go. So so that's a big thing. I've just got some notes here, so I'm just reading those. I mean, I know it seems kind of like we talk about the same thing a lot around, that we're being triggered, that we're needing to look at the fears and the loss, the abandonment issues, the rejection, the loss of power and control. These seem to be quite repetitive patterns that, although, it seems as if we're always doing this work, that we are, it is what we're doing right now. And I guess still that is going on. It's a big theme. So again, I was having dreams where some of the situations that I was facing that I didn't really want to face, I was trying to run away. I had to just accept and surrender into the situation, and so that's part of that healing as well. Is just acceptance, understanding. Look, this is what it is. I'm going to have to deal with it. I'm just going to have to accept it. I can't run away. I've got to face it, and surrendering into um, rather than resisting, because that is a form of resistance, avoidance. I was, prepared to just go in and face whatever it was that I had to face, and just kind of take a big deep breath and go in. I'm just going to do it. Just going to do it. So that kind of thing, and trusting that also you'll be carried through it, and it may not even be as bad as what you thought. And in fact, if you trust that the goal is always love, no matter what the situation, that you will be carried through, and you'll find yourself on the other side of something where if you took what I'm seeing as kind of like a channel of love that carries you through the situation, because if you maintain an energy of love instead of fear when you're traversing through the painful or frightening experience or the trigger that you're trying to get through, that you'll pop out on the other side. Kind of it's a bit like, gosh, I'm getting some real cool analogies right now as I'm talking to you. So when you're in perhaps underwater, or you're in that tsunami where everything's kind of burbling around, and you've tried to hold on, and you've got pulled by the wave, and you're going through, but you kind of find this channel of water where it's actually quite safe and the current's going and it's not too tough, but you can sort of go through it. And that's when you've surrendered, and the energy of the water is just carrying you, and you're just trusting that it's just going to take you where you need to go. So that's kind of, I guess, the closest way I can explain to you what how that feels. So while we're surrendering and trusting, we're part of that is the action, the energy of the action to do what it is that we need to do in order to make that happen, or to kind of go through with that process. So sometimes it does involve us kind of getting up off our seat and actually maybe stepping up or doing something to kind of keep shifting that energy forward. So I found for me, I realized the places where I was getting a little bit stuck, where I'd become a little bit inactive, even in my physical body, I'd sort of become a little bit down and kind of down and out, and negative thinking puts me into kind of an active place where I can kind of get a bit stuck. So I need to move my physical body again. I need to get back into exercise and get my fitness back. I have put on excess weight because I've kind of been eating my way through some of the stress of the difficulties, which is my go-to, unfortunately, my protection always. And, I need to face that now. I need to go, okay, well, look what I've done. I've got to deal with that. I'm going to have to get active again and get into some exercise and shift and move my body around. That's kind of what it is. So a little bit more also that I'm being guided to talk about, and I had to just write this down and then was told the information will come as I talk to you. So hopefully it will. So the what I was asked to write down was divine feminine, divine masculine, and they're saying, right, that's enough of that. We are no longer going to be doing this divine masculine, divine feminine thing. And when you hear that, people talking like that, and I'm talking about it now so that I can draw our attention to it, but it doesn't mean that I'm trying to perpetuate the polarity of that, those concepts. So the concept where we're talking about, the divine feminine's coming into her, blah, 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 and the divine masculine's coming into his, blah, blah, blah. We can no longer use gender to define divine masculine, divine feminine energies. In fact, we need to be aware, we are all carrying the divine feminine and the divine masculine within us, whatever the gender may be. So when we're talking about the divine feminine energies rising and becoming more powerful and coming into the power, that is not the females or the woman coming into their power. That is the divine feminine energy coming into the power into our bodies, whether we're male or female. So If you're in a male body, you will also be experiencing this energy of the divine feminine becoming more powerful within you. And that will look like that trust and the surrender and the letting go. That's what that divine feminine energy looks like. And then when that divine feminine energy, sort of, I guess, puts down the weapons and stops fighting and just goes, okay, I'm just going to take a deep breath and just deal with the situation and just relax into it. And then that divine masculine energy can then come in, which is that little bit of a backbone that says, okay, I'm surrendering and I'm trusting the situation, but also I'm going to say, this is not okay, and this is okay, and where I need to step up and be strong and powerful and find my power again, I'm going to use more of that divine masculine energy. And when I have to put a boundary in and call something out that's kind of disrespectful and not okay, or maybe harming others or ourselves, that we can actually have the strength to say no to that energy. And that's kind of the combination of the divine feminine and divine masculine working together, which is what we're all coming into, whether we're male or female. So, the twin flame community hopefully is waking up out of those old concepts as well, where I know I've often talked about how we overlay some of the old concepts that we have inherited around relationships, around gender stereotypes, and all of those things. Twin flames are, really working on breaking those things down, not perpetuating them and repeating them and overlaying them into our journey, which is a completely different journey. Like it is nothing to do with romantic Hollywood style love. And I will repeat that almost in every video that I do, because it's really nothing like that. So I had started in my last video, decided to start reading out my twin flame story because I thought it might be useful and helpful to others. Because what I hear a lot of videos talk about is kind of like those videos out there that go 7 signs of how you know you've met your twin flame, and these kind of things. Like, those videos have like millions of views, and you can watch them till the cows come home. But I think what I think is really, really helpful is when we hear twin flames talk about what it's really like to be a twin flame, and what are some of the things that we experience on the journey that really help us understand what it is that makes us unique as twin flames. So my last video talked about the early stages leading up to meeting my twin flame, because I think for a lot of us there's actually quite a lot of things that go on, years, months, time beforehand. It's the preparation time before we even come to meet our twin flames, and the timing has to be right. And I'm just going to pause there because I need to move my legs. Just hold on a sec. Right, so if you're new to my channel, and this is the first video you're watching that I've put out, that's fine. It doesn't have to be in sequence, and you've just picked it up at this time because this is the information that you needed to hear. So that's cool. Like, the story will be relevant or important whenever you come to listen to it. So this is kind of what I call phase 2 of my journey. So phase 1 was the last video. If you want to hear about false twin flames, I did talk about what I call a false twin flame. To me, a false twin flame is when you sort of know what a twin flame experience is, and you meet someone that you think is your twin flame, but they're not. That's my definition of a false twin flame. They might exhibit a lot of the signs that you think a twin flame would have, but the underlying difference, the main difference, is that there's just way too many problems in the relationship, and it's very difficult. Like for me, a twin flame, like a lot of people talk about how difficult their twin flame journeys are. And I think that if there's that much pain and that much drama and that much separation and that much kind of, just if it's really hard work and you're not able to actually communicate with your twin flame at all, then I would really be surprised that that would be your twin flame. I think, that would be a situation that you're having to learn a lot about yourself. And, that's in my case what I had to do, and how to overcome a lot of my fears and step into my power. And that was prior to meeting my twin flame. So sometimes a lot of what I think these relationships people are experiencing are the catalyzers to their twin flames. And people get really hung up and really attached to the experience that that's my twin flame. But at any time, I think even if you think it's your twin flame, and I can do this with my twin flame and say, look, if he's not, that's okay. I can just move on. I'm not that attached that I can have to say this is it. I think we need to be quite open and quite loose around and not getting too hung up on these things. The emotional attachment that comes, the deep love that comes for your twin, and you can't think of anyone else in that way, that's great. That's fine to have that. That does not take that away at all. And that needs to be there for whatever reason it needs to be there for, and so be it. We can't take that away from anyone. So there's no saying, oh, that's not your twin flame, therefore you don't have the right to have this level of love for them. No, you are entitled to love whoever you want to love, however much you want to love them, if that's what you're here to experience. So we cannot invalidate anyone's experience. If you believe that what you're experiencing is twin flame, then that's because you're needing to have that experience, and that's super cool. So, right, I am going to continue on from where I left off last time, which was when I had left my false twin flame, and finally, after 10 times of breaking up and coming back together, finally did it. So this is the next part of my journey that I'm going to read out. I made the choice. I left him and chose myself. I swore I would never, ever, ever engage myself in a human relationship with the male species ever again. No more drama for me. In brackets, what I was actually saying was I would never participate in a third dimensional relationship involving fear, emotional insecurity, attachment, and codependency. I offered myself in surrender to the divine and actually sung Amazing Grace to God with tears rolling down my face, begging for mercy. I'd had quite enough, and it was quite a scene. Luckily, by the grace of God, who had mercy on my wretched soul, I moved very quickly into a new energy. Never one for staying down for long, I sat at my computer and very purposefully made a manifestation plan of how I wanted my life to look. So I might just skip this bit, because basically what it was about was manifesting what I wanted. And, I wrote down exactly what I wanted, where I wanted to live, the job, and so on. And basically it was quite amazing, because was so dedicated to myself that within 1 week I had the place that I wanted to live, the job I wanted to have, and everything kind of the way I wanted it. And it was like so powerful, because I'd taken that step in the direction of my soul and what I wanted to do for the first time, literally probably in my life. And I was quantum leaping. It was intense. So this new place that I had to live exactly how I wanted it, and I dedicated the next 6 months completely to my own healing and recovery and radical self-love. During this time, I'll go back to reading now, I cocooned and blocked out a lot of social contact, going deeper and deeper within and filling my heart with so much unconditional love and acceptance. I was starting to feel amazing. So that was literally every day. Now I'm adding this. I was saying to myself, I love you. I love you. I love you. I was doing a lot of work with Matt Kahn, and it was pretty cool. I physically detoxed and removed certain foods, alcohol, people, and other lingering bad habits from my life. And I've actually written here, I wish to personally thank Matt Kahn, who helped me a lot during this time. 3 months later, in September 2015, I began to receive important information downloads that I was to begin work on balancing the divine masculine and divine feminine polarities. This would involve discussion groups, workshops, and the weaving of some of this new information into my day job, which at the time was the sexual violence prevention education in schools. And so the big work that I felt that I was being given guidance to work on was the healing of the wounded masculine and wounded feminine, recognizing archetypes, fears, roles, victim, perpetrator, and that the balancing would first take place within the individual and then flow out into the collective. I set to work on my own feminine wounding, healing some of my mistrust issues, deep, painful memories of violation, suppression, and torture that I had experienced as a woman throughout eons of time, perpetuated over lifetimes, embedded deeply in my cellular memory and tissues of the body as deep fear, anger, hatred, and overall disappointment of the male energies. I realized I was blocking, angry at, and blaming all men for so much of my personal pain. I was aware this was going to take some time to clear and very much a collective healing taking place on the planet for many females. The males too would also be healing their pain from their polarity vantage point, but as my soul was currently residing in the body of a female, I was experiencing the feminine wounding more prominently. As an empath, I felt the deep wounding of Mother Gaia and all women on the planet. A lot of shaking, crying, intense releasing, shouting and screaming helped with that. Eventually coming to a place of recognition that both the polarities have been experiencing their positions from a place of fear. Power and control comes from a place of fear, victimhood likewise coming from a place of fear. Neither of those energies has been serving us well. So let's get out of the fear, everyone. Let's forgive each other and recognize the playing out of the duality split and bridge our way back to love, equal respect, harmonization, and balance. Okay, so now I could either finish it there or I could go on to talk about the next part of the journey, which is October 2015. By the next month, this was when I met my twin flame. But what I'm going to do is, because I realize now that I've gone quite a lot of time, so it's 27 minutes, and I like to keep these videos kind of at least under 30, so I'm going to hold that off until the next video, keep you in suspense, always good, and by the next time I put out a video, hopefully there'll be a little bit more to share, and I can share the rest of my story with you. And it's going to be, it's actually a 50-page, 60-page story, so there's going to be a lot of from when I met my twin flame, what I experienced, and what I've been going through since up till now. And just recently, as always, I tell everyone that watches my videos that I'm in a very strong friendship with my twin flame. We have a beautiful, beautiful friendship, and we are regularly in contact. We either talk on the phone or leave voice messages for each other, and just different funny things we'll send each other. So my twin flame is really lovely about talking about his what he's going through emotionally, and I just love that about him, and we just get straight on that level and we talk about that together. We talk about what we're going through, and just recently when I had to go through this tough time, it's when we're learning how not to be codependent. So I'm not ringing up my twin and saying I really, really need you, can you, I energetically tune in, and when I do really, really need his support energetically on a spiritual level, I will call out to him, his higher self. I won't call out to his physical 3D self. I'll say, hey, I need you kind of along my side to help me get through this really difficult time. And he's always there. And just recently in this downtime that I had, he's been there for me. I've really felt him, and I've also seen the synchronicities as well. For me, it's a lot of white feathers. I get them just everywhere. So, yeah. So, anyway, I am going to leave it there. I do hope that um, this has been helpful to you, beautiful twin flames out there. Always love to hear your comments. I do have limited space available if anyone would like a session at any time with me. I can find times in the evenings and on the weekends. So yeah, I will leave it there and sending you out a big, big hug from my heart and lots of love. Okay, bye for now.